Hello and welcome to Felhaven. We are so excited to get started. It has been like over a year since we started planning this. When we knew Thornvale was going to be ending. I mean, it's been like over a year since you did the art, isn't it, Hannah?
Yeah, I think
So this is going to come out in May-ish. I think I started art in June. So not quite a year, but almost.
Close, okay.
I think we need to take a step back, though. We should probably explain what we're doing here in episode 1 in case anybody missed our episode 0, right?
Yeah, so we are going to be playing an actual play. We're playing Urban Shadows. And if you want to learn more about the system, go listen to our session 0. We also introduced all of our characters. We'll introduce them again in this episode.
We introduced ourselves, like you just heard her drop Thornvale. We are podcasters who have a complete other show that you can go listen to set in the same universe.
Yeah,
but it is not required listening.
2 other shows, in fact.
That's true, yeah.
But one of them is set in the same universe.
Yes.
Indeed.
Everything
Actually,
we talk about is going to be linked in the show notes.
Yes.
So if you want to go check out our other shows, they are in the show notes. Highly, highly recommend it. Once again, just in case people didn't listen to our session 0, real quick, let's have everyone introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm playing the Spectre archetype. In real life, for my day job, I work in marketing. And also, I do volunteer firefighting, and I'm working on becoming an EMT.
Hey there, everyone. My name is Wesley. I will be playing under the council member archetype for this new game we'll be playing. And when I am not here playing these games, day to day, I am actually employed by my parents to help look after a relative of ours who's here with us. And when I'm not doing that, I am usually working on my own writing or editing projects that are unrelated, and also reading a lot. I read a ton of novels, which I'm sure is a reason why I very much enjoy this medium as much as I do.
Hi, I am Andrew Lewis, and I am the husband of our lovely Master of Ceremonies, Susanna. When I'm not recording our podcast, I am an engineer, so in that regard, I really like math, and I am the resident math expert in the group. But for this show, I'm going to be playing Lord Harcroft, and my playbook is the Wizard. In our parlance for the show, I'm more of a warlock, but as far as mechanics are concerned, same difference.
And I am Susanna. I am the god of the Dragon Knights universe. I was the keeper of the Thornvale podcast. I am the MC of this one. I have also written the Deep Hollow books, which are, again, set in the same Dragon Knights universe. That is a YA urban fantasy series, if you're interested. And I spend most of my time working on my dice business. I run a dice business called Dragon Knight Dice. We also have a Discord, which is super awesome. We didn't have that at the beginning of the last show.
Yeah.
We have a Discord called The Actual Place, and that is where we hang out with a bunch of our other actual play buddies. There's some amazing shows on there that are super, super cool, and lots of fans of those shows that you can go and talk to and talk about with this show. I'm sure as soon as we start this one, there's going to be a bunch of our fans that are going to be like, ooh, this is really neat. This is the new thing. So there will already be people for you to talk to if you enjoy this show. Also, there's a really funny coincidence that happened with how timing turned out for when this episode is coming out. Because our original show, Thornvale, released in 2019 on May 3rd. And this show as well is releasing on May 3rd, 5 years later. That's so cool.
Exactly.
On the anniversary.
Yeah.
On the anniversary.
And that kind of happened on accident. It really did,
it was basically
it's a happy accident.
Yeah.
We were just like, oh, we want to take like 2 months off after we finish doing Thornvale and all the kind of bonus content with it. And we were looking at it, we're like, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah,
That's
so
so
it's
cool.
an exact 8-week gap from the release of the Thornvale AMA, which is like our last episode. Now we did add a bloopers episode after that now since we made the schedule. So technically it's a 7-week break, but still.
I will say, by the way, at the beginning of this, this show is going to be rated PG-13, basically. It's probably a little more PG-13 than Thornvale was. So if you were coming from Thornvale, it will be we may cover some topics that are a bit more PG-13. We are still not going to curse, so don't worry about that. If you want to listen with your little ones, who the more PG-13 things will go over their heads, you are welcome to. It will probably be significantly less violent than Thornvale most of the time.
I kind of doubt that.
Most.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. There's not as much, there probably won't be as much monster hunting.
Yeah.
But maybe there will be more people. I don't want to say hunting.
Ooh, big oof.
People hunt.
But yeah, this is Urban Shadows itself is sort of meant to be a dark and gritty kind of game. So this is going to be a somewhat dark and gritty show, not without its funny moments, of course. This is us we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I just wanted to get some of that out of the way. And I did want to mention our awesome theme music. I mentioned it at the end of the session 0, but our theme music is done by the fantastic Ian of Shrimp and Crits, which is one of our favorite buddy podcasts, also on the actual place. Ian did a phenomenal job with the music, and we are so
Music
so
is
happy
pretty epic.
for it. And it's so cool. So we just wanted to say that. We wanted to say thank you, Ian. We really, really appreciate it. This music is fantastic, and it's really cool to have our own
Custom
music.
It's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love the old Baba Yaga, the name of the song for Thornvale, but it is a different thing for it to be our music that we commissioned somebody to make it for us, which is just cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's just kind of different, and just really excited about that. So before we get started, I want to do something a little fun for you guys.
Okay.
I asked all of you guys to write me down 2 truths and a lie about your characters. The idea for this is that these are rumors about your characters. And I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and read all of the truths and lies, and you will not know which ones are which. But I have sent them to you guys, so you guys can go ahead and read them right now and kind of give a quick reaction, but don't tell people what they are. I'm sure they will come up.
Should we read our own, or should we all read somebody
Read
else's?
everybody's truths and lies.
Okay.
Oh, some of these are spicy. Oh.
Oh
okay.
my. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, we've got all kinds of intrigue going on here. Ooh. One of them started very nicely and ended very, very unfortunately. Oh.
Interesting.
A penchant for oh.
It's so much funnier knowing what the word he didn't say is.
Yeah.
I said they were spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So I just wanted to get those out of the way. So you guys know these facts about each other. These rumors, shall
Well, they're
we
not
say.
facts. They're rumors, aren't they?
Some of them are facts. Some of them aren't.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys decide which ones you believe and which ones you don't.
And we're not going to read those out.
No, we're not going to
Okay.
read those out. These are things that you guys know about each other that can maybe come up in conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Oh my.
Yeah.
When we hear about each other's names and
exactly.
Okay.
But with that, I think we will go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the city itself. Give you a little overview. We zoom out from over the calm, gray waters of the Pengate Lake, west to the city of Felhaven. It's not a big city, yet, but it's growing rapidly. Along the shores, we see the lakeside district. Docks jut out like crooked teeth, harboring ships meant for both business and pleasure. Shouting and cheering can be heard from inside the primal wrestling gym, which backs right up to the water. Somewhere inside, the notorious leader of the werewolves, Sapphira Corbin, sits watching the combatants and deciding whether any of them are worthy to join her brutal gang. Just to the west of Lakeside lies the Artisan District, where everything from farm-fresh food to dresses to silver goblets can be bought from the many skilled workers who live and sell their wares there. Here you can find Perkins' shoe shop, where the enigmatic Eleanor Rigby haunts the upper floor. A short jog to the north brings us to the Factory District, where Ferris Textiles and the Wilcott Grain Mill rise tall above the streets. monuments to the growing industrialization of the city. Just north across the Felhaven River, which flows into the lake from the west, lives Sebastian Ferris in his beautiful home, Highwood Manor. Following upriver, the waters begin to flow from the south. To the west across a heavy wooden bridge is Harcroft Way, the road to Lord Martin Harcroft's ancient estate, Hound's Rest. To the east across the same bridge is Greek Street and the Athena Cafe, where a grizzled old human named Nicholas Petralis is planning a hunt. Continuing to the south and upriver, we find the lower west side of the city. Here you can shop in the notorious night market, or perhaps visit the Black Rose Pub, the headquarters of Victor Stromson and his syndicate of bloodsuckers. A couple blocks to the west is Lavender Boulevard and the charming little bookstore known as Mr. Quentin's Archive. And finally, we follow Lavender north to the so-called Central Towers, a collection of massive 10 to 15 story tall buildings surrounded by parklands and rimmed in low brick walls. On Sovereign Street stands the tallest of the towers, the Vision Building, where Lady Sylvia Belmont lives. It is known colloquially as the seat of power. And now, just outside the city, on a cold, rainy September day, we find Lord Harcroft. Lord Harcroft, what are you doing?
Lord
Today.
Harcroft is at his estate, Hound's Rest. What time of day is it?
It is probably like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. So he's been up for a while. I think that right about now is maybe a good time for him to go kind of do his rounds. I think he's going to go out to the stable out front off the courtyard and, mount up on his horse. The stable hand's getting it prepared for him. And he's just going to go on a little ride around the property, go check in on the lay of the land, so to speak. He doesn't mind that it's a bit rainy. He'll put on a cloak or something, He doesn't really bother him.
Are you taking anyone with you?
I'd probably take my eldest son with me. I think I would take Joseph with me. He's been on a couple of these with me as I'm trying to kind of show him how things are done around here, kind of what it means to be a lord.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll probably bring him along,
And Joseph is very much a mini-me version of you.
Yeah.
Oh my.
He looks a lot like you, just kind of a little smaller, a little thinner.
Yeah, if you missed the character introduction episode, Lord Harcroft is kind of a bulkier man, not fat. He has kind of a darker complexion. He's got dark black hair and a widow's peak with some gray, like a gray streak in the middle. He's got kind of a mustache goatee combo. And he's dressed in the high fashion of the era. He's dressed well as a lord.
Mm-hmm. So you are heading out today to kind of survey the area.
Yeah, check in on the sheep that is my main source of income, as well as the tenants living on my land.
So your land is beautiful, even on this rainy day. It's chilly out. You've got a thick coat on, covering yourself up. You're riding on your horses. The area around your manor is very gently rolling hills, mostly. It's perfect for having sheep on. And boy, do you have a lot of sheep. All around your manor, there are different little tiny houses dotted where different tenants that live on your land are gathered. Most of them are shepherds. Some of them are growing other crops for the area. But most of them are shepherds.
And just to be clear, they're tending my flocks, basically.
Yeah.
Like they're living on my land as tenants, and they're also kind of earning a living tending my living.
Basically.
Okay.
Yes. Your family has been in the sheep business for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah, we have been, the Harcrofts have been living in this area as a noble family for quite some time.
Tell me about some of the people who live on your land.
Well, there's the people living on my land tend to be families. They're farmers of one sort or another, whether that's tending sheep or growing crops. So kind of typical of the era, they tend towards larger families so that they can have the hands that they need to get the work done. because this region of the local area is still, we have not industrialized very much yet. Maybe there's been some improvements in farming equipment, but the work is still all manual, and that's the way it's been done. That is the tradition, that is how this work has been done before, and that is what has worked in the past. So we have these large families living on our lands. They tend to be families that have been here for a while. It might be a farming family where, the father passes on the family farm, quote unquote family farm, because it's still my land, but pass on the family farm to the next eldest, and so on and so forth. There's a couple people who come in from, out of town trying to find a place to live, and, I if I have room for them, I might hire them on isn't quite the right word. I think there's one particular family that maybe I could run across. What I'm getting at is I, as the player, know of one particular family that's living here.
Yeah, I think as you're going around, you see people. No one kind of flags you down. You get the occasional wave from people.
And I never respond. I am the Lord. I don't wave back. I don't nod politely. I just go about my business surveying. But it is accepted.
I think you do notice there's one family that lives on your land that's always a bit more chipper than the others.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been here a little less maybe than some of the other families.
A newer family, okay.
A newer family. But as you ride along the countryside looking at your land, you pass by a gate where one of the sheep tenders has just closed up their sheep inside of a new sort of grazing area.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a red-haired man with a very big bushy beard and a very wide grin give you a big smile, and you recognize him as Malcolm Evans.
Okay.
Whoa.
Evans.
This is another one of those
so excited.
Thornvale Easter eggs I mentioned in the Session 0.
Yeah. So Mr. Evans is just being a bit improprietous and smiling at me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Does he say anything, or is he just kind of looking at me smiling?
He smiles and waves.
I think Lord Harcroft can't help but notice, and he still chooses not to wave back or anything, but he does look at him, and he just kind of acknowledges him, not with a nod or anything, but he acknowledges him with a look, just keeping a straight face. He looks off to the sheep, and then he just kind of turns his head back to the road. But I think since this is a newer family, he hasn't had much chance to form an opinion other than, like I said, impropriety is probably the word that comes to mind first.
He's just a bit too friendly.
A bit too friendly for somebody of my station.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds accurate for an Evans.
I think you sort of slow down a little bit as you pass by the Evans house, and you hear a little bit farther away from you, you hear the sound of the thundering of horse hooves.
Okay. Does it sound like it's coming this direction if I pause to listen to it for a while?
Yeah, it's coming back from back towards your house.
Okay. I'm sure that my son, Joseph, hears it, but I just say, oh man, I'm actually talking for the first time now. This is the time for the disclaimer that we're all going to do British accents and do our best to keep those British accents.
We're going to try
Apologize in advance to any UK listeners.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully
we're charming.
I did look up some videos ahead of time to try to do my best, though.
I did too. I tried to practice.
I promise they will get better as they get more used to them.
Yeah.
I hope they get better.
Yeah. Martin turns to his son Joseph and he just says, I wonder what this is all about.
I don't know. Looks like little Jamie. And indeed, you do see thundering up on his own horse, kind of trying to overtake you. I think he begins to calm down a little bit as he realizes that you've stopped to allow him to approach. A 14-year-old boy who works in your manor. He's a bit of a messenger. He goes around and talks to people on your manor. He's usually the one sending out information to the tenants. Sometimes he goes into town, but most of the time he just kind of works around in the manor, and he cleans things when he needs to. I think his mother works as a maid for you.
He's kind of like a general purpose servant, but primarily like a messenger.
Yeah.
Okay.
But his main thing is he's real good with a horse, so he can get messages out pretty quickly.
Okay.
And he is coming thundering towards you on his horse.
I don't, call out to him or anything. I let him, do his job, relay the message.
He arrives pretty quickly and holds his horse up and walks up next to you and says, sorry, sir, but there's the lady is here. She wants to see you right away.
Yes, of course. I'll follow you back.
Lord Harcroft, you would know that this is referring to Lady Sylvia Belmont.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very important, very, very wealthy woman who lives in town.
In Felhaven proper.
In Felhaven proper, yes.
Yeah. Well, she is certainly an acquaintance of mine, being in high society. We rub elbows frequently. So I would say that, he's probably going to make a bit of a quicker, he's kind of coming at a leisurely pace to do this inspection. He is going to not gallop back, but he's definitely going to go much faster.
Okay. We'll come back to you in a little while.
Okay.
Eleanor Rigby.
Yes.
What are you up to on this fine, drizzly afternoon?
I think I'm doing what I normally do most days, which is reading and studying. I think I am I have like a flat, an upstairs flat, and I have it just filled top to bottom with books in all these different bookshelves that are meticulously organized. However, in contrast, the desk that I work at is a mess. There are papers and everything just everywhere. But the common theme on these papers seems to be star charts. There's a lot of astronomy and astrology kind of things written on all of these papers on her desk.
All right.
I am currently reading a book.
All right. And what are you reading about?
I am reading about, it seems to be a book on heavenly bodies. So just like the study of what are stars? What are these things that we could see? Like theories about those sorts of things.
Okay. Cool. So you are studying today. I think probably unconsciously you are hovering just like a little bit off your chair. Probably not something you'd notice.
No.
But you are kind of thumbing through this book that you recently got, and I think you hear a knock at your door.
Do I need to manifest to open the door?
Well, you were already thumbing through a book, so I assume you are currently manifested.
Okay. All right.
In terms of touching things, can you be seen or heard is my question.
Ooh. Oh man, this is gonna be hard to interact with people this way. If anyone doesn't know, if anyone didn't listen to episode 0, I am the Spectre. I am a ghost.
Yeah, would you, real quick for people who didn't listen, you want to describe Eleanor?
Yeah, so obviously she is a ghost. She's kind of, it's kind of hard to pick out one, like, colors within her. Like, she kind of appears as one color. I think she appears as kind of an orangish hue is the color that kind of takes over. Going by Thornvale canon, that's how ghosts kind of appear, is by one of the colors that was on them. And this color comes from her, like, wild, curly red hair. She's kind of a smaller woman. She has blue eyes and wears not really fancy clothes, but they're nice for the class, like, that she is, like, kind of middle class. And yeah, I guess Eleanor will go open the door. I think if she can touch... Oh, jeez. I think the other one I'll choose is that she can be heard. I don't think she can be seen at this point in time.
That makes sense. So I think maybe you're even, like, still holding this book as you walk over the door.
Yes, yeah. So there's just a floating book going to the door.
So you open up the door, and outside of the door there is a fairly short, kind of squat, balding man with a very kindly face and a somewhat perpetually kind of red, bulbous nose. And I think you recognize this as Silas. He is the cobbler who lives underneath of your apartment. He has an apartment at the back of his shop. The front of the shop is the cobbler, and the back is his apartment. And you have the top floor of the building for your shop,
Yes.
for your
My
abode.
living quarters and my area where I work.
And I think Silas opens up the door. He kind of stares for a moment at the book, and he says, Miss Rigby?
Oh, hello, Silas. Nice to see you.
Yes, the same. The same to you. There's a gentleman downstairs who is interested in seeing you.
Wasn't expecting any clients today. Did he mention his name?
Mr. Quentin?
Mr. Quentin. Oh. I don't think now is this a name that I recognize or no?
Why don't we go ahead and put a face to a name? This is going to be our first roll of the game. Would you like to read out that real quick so we can let people know what this move is?
When you put a face to a name, or vice versa, roll with their faction. On a hit, you know their reputation. The GM tells you what most people know about them. On a 10+, you've dealt with them before. Learn something interesting and useful about them, or they owe you a debt. On a miss, you don't know them, or you owe them. The MC will tell you which.
Okay. So you are going to be rolling with Wild.
Ooh. Okay.
And remember, as you roll with a faction, you get to mark that faction. And when you have rolled with each of the different factions, you will get to advance.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll with Wild and mark Wild.
I got a 12. Oh my
God.
Oh, that's a good that is a good omen for this show.
I got a 12,
wow.
guys. What the heck?
So,
Oh
for
my
new listeners,
gosh.
Hannah usually rolls badly.
She is our bad roller.
Hannah's luck is
Yes, I am
notoriously
cursed.
awful. So this is a bit of a surprise. All right. Wow, what a great first roll of the game. A 12. So at a 10+, you've dealt with them before. Learned something interesting and useful about them, or they owe you a debt. So you recognize that name, Mr. Quentin. Mr. Quentin owns Mr. Quentin's archive.
On a 10+, I've dealt with them before, and I learn or learn something interesting and useful about them, or they owe you a debt. So do
Yes.
I know something like interesting or useful, or do
I think you
They
do
owe
know
me.
something interesting or useful about him. I'm going to give you a little information about Mr. Quentin. You have known about Mr. Quentin for quite some time. He has this nice little bookshop on Lavender Boulevard, and it's been there for a very long time. No one really knows when Mr. Quentin came to Felhaven. Some older folks will tell you that he's been there since they were a child, but of course that must have been his father. Regardless, the bookseller seems to know everything. Anything. Disconcertingly so. If you need information, Mr. Quentin will have it. For a price, of course.
Oh, no way. Ooh.
What price? Most people won't tell you. Or they can't.
Oh, my.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh,
So Mr.
no.
Quentin has come to visit you. Are you
Okay.
interested in receiving Mr. Quentin?
Yeah, I think so. I guess I'll say to Silas, yeah, why don't you send him up?
All right. Should I lay the door open?
Yes, that'll be fine. Thank you.
And Silas heads down and he starts to... I should mention, I don't know if I mentioned, Silas is your landlord as well.
Yes, yeah, I live above him, but he owns the shop and the apartment above.
Silas starts to head down, and a couple of seconds later, you hear the soft footsteps of Mr. Quentin. Eleanor, how would you like to manifest to Mr. Quentin?
Well, if I want to change, I have to roll for it. I have to, re-manifest, basically.
Would you like
so
to?
So right now, yeah, I think I
You
will.
don't have to
because
roll for it.
I don't have to roll for it?
Yeah, there's no roll for manifest. It just says regular people can't sense. You can manifest by spending a few quiet moments concentrating and choose to.
Oh.
So you don't have to roll for
Okay.
it.
Oh,
You just mark
okay,
corruption
good.
if you want to pick all 3.
Excellent. All right.
It's much
I
easier.
will choose. So as I'm focusing on this like new person coming to see me, I think I would like to manifest by changing it just slightly. I think I would like to be seen and heard. So I
Okay.
will put the book down on my desk before
Yeah.
I do this.
You put the book down on
I
your
cannot
desk
touch or be
and
touched.
you manifest so that you are seen and heard, and I think you look almost like you're actually there, but you're not really, and you probably float like an inch or 2 above the ground.
I think I'm a little more monochromatic than should be normal. Like, I think I'm more of
Yeah.
like a solid color than normal people are.
Like if somebody just saw you passing by in the street, I don't think they would go, a ghost. But if somebody really looked at you, they'd be like, there's something wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah.
And like I said, your whole skin, your clothes, everything has a sort of odd orange hue. That doesn't seem to make sense in this sort of gloomy gray day that we can see coming through the window. But you turn around and you hear a slight knock on your door. You turn around and you see Mr. Quentin standing in the doorway. He is a short, thin man of somewhat indeterminate age. He has a fondness for 3-piece suits, colorful bow ties, and expensive leather shoes. He has a mop of wavy brown hair and keeps his gold-plated pince-nez on a chain either on his face or in his breast pocket. He has it in his breast pocket today. He has these oddly piercing green eyes that seem to look through you, whether he normally could or not. And I think he enters, he kind of knocks on your door and says, Miss Rigby.
Oh, hello, Mr. Quentin. It's nice to see you here. How can I help you?
I was wondering if I could get a copy of your newest almanac for the shop.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I have a copy right over here. And she goes over to her bookshelf and tries to pull off a book and is a little bit confused about, wow, my grasp, maybe I need glasses or something. Like, I'm having a hard time, like, grabbing this book. Weird. And instead, she then points to a spot on her bookshelf.
I think he gives you a small smile and walks over and picks up the book and begins to thumb through it. And after a couple seconds of perusing this book, he kind of smiles and he says, "Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. I'm honored you want a copy.
How much do I owe you?"
Oh, first copy free of charge, just as a thank you.
All right.
If you want more, we can negotiate.
Yes. I can contact your publisher.
Yes.
Good. And he's kind of thumbing through it, and he kind of gives you another kind of small smile. He never seems to have much emotion on his face. And he says, "How are you doing, Miss Rigby?"
Oh, well, I mean, fine. Shop's doing fine. Work is, fine. Everything's good. Yeah, good. How's business down your end?
Oh, it's always just what it needs to be.
Yes, well, I've been meaning to pop by your shop. Maybe I'll do that soon.
I would love to have you there. And I think with that, he kind of tucks the book underneath of his arm, and he says, "Thank you, Miss Rigby.
Of course. Not a problem.
I'll be taking my leave now.
Have a good day, sir."
You as well." I think with that, he kind of turns around and heads off.
Oh, what the...
I think he closes the door behind him. And you're left with just a strange feeling of, I feel like more happened here than should have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels weird to me, Hannah. So I'm sure Eleanor's also feeling a bit, what was that?
Yeah. Sebastian, what are you doing on this drizzly afternoon?
If it's already in the afternoon, I think that you won't find him at home this afternoon. He has decided that he's going to go down to he's left the house. He's going to go down to his family factory because he, I believe, received word that the newest batch of potential suits and coats and such it has now reached the test phase, which means that he, being the one in charge, is going to go down and basically run his own personal checks on these outfits to be sure that, like, okay, are these good enough quality to be sold, to be bought and sold and traded, everything. So he has left the house. He's down at the factory, and I don't think he's alone, is he, Susanna?
Meeting you at your factory is your assistant, Iris. I think you've walked down there, kind of swinging your cane to and fro. And as you arrive in front of your textile factory, Iris calls out and says, Mr. Ferris.
Iris, good morning. Good morning.
It's the afternoon, sir.
Oh, is it? Well, my mistake. Shall we, if you wouldn't mind, the door, my dear?
Of course. She opens up the door, and I think she offers you her arm, as she usually does, when you're on the factory floor. Most of the time in your office, you can kind of get around on your own, but there's kind of a lot of people wandering around, not always looking where they're going. So Iris kind of offers you her arm, and you put your hand gently on her elbow, and she begins to lead you through the factory.
I should clarify for those who might not have heard our episode 0. He is not doing this out of any particular gallantry. She is helping him because he requires help, because he cannot see 10 feet in front of his face or at all because he's blind.
Yeah, real quick, go ahead and describe Sebastian for everyone.
Any of the local workers bustling about, looking at them. On one hand, they're going to see a very smartly dressed, if old-fashioned dressed, gentleman of about 33 years. I say old-fashioned because this particular wardrobe is rather fading out of style at the time, but he has somewhat sentimental reasons for his wardrobe, and it is it's the tailed frock coat with the top hat. He has very high cheeks. His eyes are a deep green, but they're a bit cloudy. He cannot see, obviously. He also has this very thin mustache, blonde hair, and he wears the cane. The cane he's moving back and forth in front of him is a rather very well made. Perhaps an oak cane with the top of it. Its head is actually fashioned from silver with a. Is that a lizard or perhaps a dragon? We don't know.
And Iris, your assistant, is a very, very pretty young woman. She looks like she's maybe in her late 20s. She is today. She's wearing a high-waisted skirt and a lovely white blouse with a little bow on the front. She has sort of lightly wavy hair, very strong, definite eyebrows.
Okay.
But she has a very full lips. She is a beautiful, beautiful young woman. Every male head in the room is turning towards her as she walks by. Of course, you wouldn't know that.
I had an idea what he might say, but he can't tell heads are turning, so he won't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he knows this floor like the back of his hand, but he also knows people move. So he is automatically heading towards a designated room, probably where the
you were being brought towards your office, where the new clothes have been brought in for you to check out. But Iris brings you through the area, and as she does, you can the smells of the factory kind of greet you like an old friend. All of the dyes that are used, you can smell. You can smell fresh cotton being processed somewhere, and you can smell the kind of wet smell of wool that is being cleaned somewhere else, and just the general odor of humanity wandering around. It's a pleasant scent to you. It smells productive.
In his mind, he's doing his best to as he always does, I think, even in places where he's been before or places where he's never been, automatically he starts to try to build this mental picture. It's very blurry and he can't tell a ton, but he still tries because
It's all you've got.
yes, it's all I have. I have to work the best I can, and he believes in self-efficiency very strongly. So he does his very best.
And as you get closer towards your office, I think you can smell the lovely smell of some sort of warm beverage that you know is waiting for you on the inside.
He takes in this smell, and he recognizes this, and he tilts his head slightly, and he says, "Is that a fresh cup I smell?"
Yes, we just got an import of Indian tea.
Oh. Well, always to try the new and exotic flavors, I suppose. And this was by your will, was it?
You hear her laugh a little bit, quietly, and she says, "Oh, yes, I got it brewing before you came. I thought you might like it."
His mouth kind of quirks, and he says, "I knew you were efficient, but it's rather over the top, but I do thank you. Fresh cup always does wonders for the soul."
And I think you can feel her kind of nod beside you. And she takes you up a set of stairs to your office. You have an office that kind of overlooks the factory floor, although overlooks is a bit of a misnomer in your term.
Yes.
But she opens up the door and brings you inside and puts the tea in your hands, and she begins unfolding. You can hear her opening some crates and boxes, and you hear the soft thump of fabric as she begins to set things out on different surfaces in your room for you to take a look at.
I think this is honestly, over the many, many times he's done this, it is not just for the sake of his business and it's continuing, but I think it's rather become something of a ritual for him. He feels very connected to the outside world in doing this because it's once again his one of his only ways to do so, and he takes a great comfort in it. And as she lays these out, he begins to walk the tables, and he just extends his hands, places them on, a coat sleeve here, shirt buttons here, blues, reds, yellows, greens, and she can probably hear him muttering things under his breath, like, yes, quite soft, supple, comfortable on the skin, very nice, very nice.
And as you continue along, you feel these different kinds of clothes, getting an idea for the texture and running your fingers over the seams to check how well crafted they are. You put your arms inside sleeves to check how that feels on your skin, and as you do so, you are explaining how they feel, giving notes, any little criticisms you may have, and you can hear Iris scribbling down information into a notebook. You can smell the lead of the pencil as she scratches it across the paper. And then, as you're standing there, you hear a strange commotion down in the factory.
I think he will pause, move towards because once again, he knows this space. He moves towards the door and opens it to step out onto the sort of balcony overlook. And Iris is there beside him, and he says, "What is going on down there?"
"I'm not sure. Everyone's looking out the windows. Perhaps there's something on the street outside?"
"With a racket like that, I suppose we shall take a look."
And I think you kind of reach out blindly and find Iris's arm, and she begins to take you downstairs. And we're going to come back to you in a moment.
All right.
Let's go back to where we started with Lord Harcroft.
Okay.
You arrive back at Hound's Rest, and you see that there is a black carriage waiting in your driveway, I guess.
Okay. I come into the courtyard and I dismount, giving my steed off to one of the stable hands. I'm sure my son does the same.
Yeah, and I think little Jamie kind of gets your attention, and he says, Oh, she's waiting in the carriage, sir. Didn't want to go inside.
And he just says, thank you, Jamie. That will be all.
Yes, sir. And he scampers off. And I think Joseph kind of turns to you and he says, I assume you'll want to be alone.
Yes, I think that this is some of our business. I will let you go about your regular duties and chores.
And he nods. And he heads inside the house.
And Lord Harcroft will walk over to the carriage, and I think he'll just let himself in.
Yeah, you open up the carriage door. You sit on the very plush leather seats. And across from you is a somewhat severe-looking woman. When I was describing this character to Hannah, I described her as kind of looking like Missy from Doctor Who. That's my fan cast for her.
Okay.
For people who haven't seen Doctor Who, that is Michelle Gomez, if you want to look her up online. But yeah, she's a very austere-looking woman, but she smiles as you enter. She's dressed very well, and she's wearing a very large hat right now.
All right. And as Martin enters, he just says, to what do I owe this pleasure, Sylvia?
Well, Martin, there's been an incident downtown, and I thought you might be interested.
Go on.
It's probably better if you see.
Well, I can't say I'm not intrigued, so let me make sure everyone's aware that I am leaving for a while, and we'll be on our way.
Oh, don't worry, I already told them. And she kind of smacks the carriage, and the carriage begins to head off. Eleanor, you also hear something of a commotion downtown.
Is my shop close to the factory, or is this like...
Yeah, it's fairly close to the factory. I'd say you're maybe like 2 or 3 blocks from the factory.
Okay. Yeah, I think I am intrigued by this. And Silas was kind enough to leave the door open for me so I don't have to touch it. So I will leave my flat and go investigate. Just with a, wonder what that's about.
You make your way down the stairs to the cobbler's area, and I think you can see Silas is looking out and down the street towards the factory. And I think he's kind of just looking through the window. You can hear there's people outside that are talking excitedly about something.
You see anything, Silas?
I'm not sure. It's people having a conniption about something.
Indeed. I think I'll go and have a look. Would you mind getting the door for me?
I think he goes over there and opens up the door for you, and you slip out. I think you all meet downtown. You're all in the same area. And you see in the center of the road, someone has dragged out what looks like it used to be a man, but is now just sort of an eviscerated pile.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Wow.
There has been a murder in Felhaven. And that's where we're going to leave it.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Okay.